So where it all began, I really hate that. It all began the day I was born. Um, the first 3 years of my life were amazing. I had everything anybody could ever want. I was really, really well loved. I came from a very large family. On my father's side was French, and they had 10 kids in that family, and my mother's side was Polish, and there were 7 people on that side. Um, didn't really get to know too much of my mother's side of the family. Did spend some time with them, do know them, but most of my life experience at an early age was with my father's side of the family, the French side. And when my father first had me, I'm the middle child, so I had an older sister, and then I came along, and on my dad's side, they were 8 girls and 2 boys. My father was the oldest and a male, so he was always looking after his family. His father was an alcoholic and a gambler, and so being the oldest son, he always provided for his siblings. So when he had kids, his siblings really doted on all his kids. So when I came along, and I was born on Christmas, so I was, a gift from God. I was a present, and I was special. And, it was, all of these girls, because they were still very young, they were all wanted to hold the baby, and all wanted to love the baby. And so I was, pretty. I was, everybody said, oh, what eyes, and, everything to compliment a person on their appearances I got. Anything I wanted, somebody was always there to pamper me. I mean, you couldn't have the best uh, of life. I mean, life was amazing. It truly, truly felt so loving. And that, I suppose, is very similar to these elites, when everybody is giving you everything and telling you how wonderful you are and saying how pretty you are, and giving you nothing but compliments and always wanting to be around you and always wanting to worship you. That's the position I was in. So it's like I really truly knew what the meaning of love was like, because I was I was completely happy all the time, all the time. Exactly like these elites would be. They have the best house, they can get the plastic surgery, they'll look as pretty as they want, anything they want, they just snap their fingers and you get it. You lived that loving life that I lived the first 3 years of my life. So I know exactly what love feels like. It is nothing but really, really good shit. But then my brother was born. And as soon as my brother was born, um, I didn't know it at the time. It took a life experience to be able to put the puzzles together. But when my brother was born, I developed a kidney infection. So every day, every morning that I woke up, I got spanked. And so I'm asking God, because it was very abusive. It's like I just wake up and, I'm living life, I'm loving life, and I wake up and I get spanked. I haven't done anything wrong. I just woke up. But, I had God in my life, and I'm asking God, okay, what the hell is going on? And, God pointed me to, listen to your parents. Listen to what they've got to say. And my parents, people will tell you if you listen to them. And my parents were going to doctors, and all doctors were telling them that I was just lazy and I needed to be disciplined. And my parents were very religious. We came from a Catholic background, so religion said discipline your child, spoil the rod, spare the child. So, my parents were doing everything that, the professionals, the loving people on the planet were telling them to do. And, it was just discipline and very, very abusive. And, I would ask my parents, why are you doing this? And not only were they telling me, religion was telling them what to do and doctors were telling them what to do, they also told me that their life experience was hell. My mother told me horror stories of when she was growing up. Both sides of my parents grew up in the Depression, and my father lived a life of hell, and my mother, God, when she even got her period, her mother told her she was a sinner and she was evil, and they basically shunned her. So here is a girl, a teenage girl, that, just out of her body she starts bleeding. She's scared to friggin' death, and, while she's in this fear, adults are telling her that she's evil and they're shunning her and, not showing her any love. So both my parents at the time that they were beating me was saying, you think you've got it bad. You should have lived our life. You've got it so much easier. So that was really, really confusing for me at the time. But I kind of knew who I was. I never ever let go of my own spirit all the time that I was growing up. I listened to my inner self. I had God as my companion, and God would say, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. And they didn't know what they were doing. They were doing what they were taught to do. They were doing what a medical profession told them to do. They did them what religion told them to do. They tried to do better than what their parents were doing, but they weren't realizing that they were doing exactly the same thing as what their parents were doing. So at a very young age, at 3 years old, God helped me to forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. And that's the difference, I think, from most people that are dealing with abuse, is a lack of understanding why you're being abused. We are all doing what we're taught to do. We are all influenced by everything that's out there. What ultimately, as an adult, I ended up learning was, when my brother was born, I was a little selfish. I was a little jealous. And that jealousy created my own hell. You have to look at when illnesses started. You have to notice when hell starts in your life. When did it first begin? Because where it first begins is generally going to be where you develop a life rule. It's how you will have a fight-flight instinct, and how you survive it. You develop that life rule, and you'll live your life according to that rule, that survival. So when you want to find some understanding of why your life isn't working today, you got to go back in history and find out, well, where did it all begin? And for me, that's where my life of abuse began, was when I developed that kidney infection. And it'd be very easy to say, well, they all beat me. They all were, this evil, evil, evil entity. But the answers always are going to be coming from you. And I'm the one that created my hell. I'm the one that attracted the abuse from my jealousy. I was jealous that my brother was born. I was jealous that I was no longer getting the attention that I loved. So this really know life and know that great experience and know all of that love that I was receiving, I was very selfish and didn't know it. And that's a huge wake-up call for most people that are of great wealth, royalty, anybody that's a leader. You may think that you are living the great life, and if another shows up that's getting a little bit more attention than you, it will be your jealousy. You will want to create your own hell. because you're not loving towards another person. You're not willing to give another person the stage. You're not willing to share in that love with all other people. Huge, huge lesson for me. At the same time, while you can forgive people for they know not what they're doing, the lesson too taught me that, okay, the medical profession didn't really know what they were doing. The medical profession, their diagnosis, their solution actually increased abuse. So that's a lesson for us all to learn, that our medical profession doesn't know anything about solving any health issues. We have a global concern for healthcare, but our current knowledge of healthcare doesn't know how to solve healthcare problems. Religion also didn't know what was right or wrong. And doesn't mean that there isn't a God. It just means that how we know God is completely wrong. We develop all of these rules and we put it in books, and it's all based on somebody's comprehension. It doesn't matter how old that book is. It's still somebody's survival rule that was created years and years and years in history. But it doesn't mean that it's right. There's a lot of really, really good stuff in Bible, but it ultimately is the fruit that will tell you the truth. And there's a lot of things within Bibles that aren't in alignment with God. It's almost like the Bible has both evil and God in it. Because these priests that were telling my parents to beat me, I would have been cured if we knew what jealousy was about, if we knew how to heal a medical problem, because that was a medical problem. After a year of being beaten, they did take me to doctors and hospitals and, found out that I had a kidney infection. But ultimately, that kidney infection was caused by a lack of love. I was receiving a lack of love because my brother was born. Ultimately, it started with me being selfish, but instead of, giving me that rod, giving me that discipline, if they would have been aware of selfishness, if they would have been aware of health problems that has a cause. When did this health issue start up? Well, it started the day my brother was born. Then they could have realized, well, what's going on? They could have had a better conversation with me. They could have realized that I was just being very selfish. They could have taught me how to love my brother, how I could experience more love in my life by giving more love to somebody else, by letting somebody else have the stage. So I knew at a very, very young age that there's something wrong within our religions, and there's something wrong within our medical systems. And we're not really understanding the causes of evil, the causes of why we experience all of the abuse that we're experiencing. We have a global problem right now, and that is because we don't have an understanding of love. We don't understand where everything began. And it all began by your past experiences, your past life rules, your ideas of how to solve problems. But if you're dying today, you're dying because you're a dummy. And the only reason you're a dummy is because you're dealing with all of the information from your past that you don't really, really understand. You're perpetuating the same problems over and over and over again, because you're not really understanding how to cure the illnesses that we all suffer from. This kidney infection was no different than any other illness. It will always have a cause, and it will always be psychologically created by some kind of event that you've experienced in your life that will manifest into an illness. But we can all cure our illnesses. We can all cure our insanity if we really understand where did it all begin and what rules did we develop, and were those rules really good rules to follow from. Now that we mature into mature adults, mature humanity, we need to just understand how to cure our health problems, physically and emotionally. And that starts with, okay, when did it all begin? When did it all start? What life rules did you develop? Did you love yourself? Did you love others? What's the meaning of love? What does love feel like? Love is something that feels really good. And if you really, really know the meaning of love, if you're really, really, truly experiencing what love is about, you ain't dying. Peace out.